Hi everyone, Kendall here with Lousy Llama Creations. Today we're going to be doing a crochet tutorial for this whale. This is a completely beginner-friendly pattern. I'm going to show you everything you need to know for your first crochet project. If you're following from one of my beginner kits, you have all the supplies you need. If you added on a hook, you have the hook. If not, you need a 5.0mm crochet hook and a pair of scissors. We're using medium weight 4 yarn in this light blue, in this white, a little bit of pink, and 10mm safety eyes, plus some stuffing. You'll also want stitch markers and a tapestry needle. For our whale, we're going to start at the top, we're the blue, and then work our way down. I want to show you how to do a magic ring or a magic circle, and then an alternative. So to start our magic ring, I'm going to take our tail, which is like this, the part that's cut off, the beginning of your skein. There's no yarn on that side. I'm going to place it in my hand. I'm going to hold it, and then wrap it around to make an X. And then I'm going to hold in the middle. I'm going to take my crochet hook and go under, then over, and I'm going to scoop this underneath. So I'm going to scoop it underneath. I'll show you that twist again. Thanks to my cat Cashew, I have my X, under, over, scoop, and I'm kind of twisting my hook up. I'm going to shimmy it off my hand. I'm kind of tightening, kind of playing around with it so it's snug on my hook, but not too tight, but it's pretty loose. And then I'm going to do something called a chain, which is when we place our yarn on top of our hook. So I just kind of shimmy it on and then pull through. I kind of turn my hook down so I can get through without catching on anything. So this is our magic ring. I want to show it to you again. Again, it's a little tricky and that's okay. I have my tail, make an X, hold, under, over, pull through and twist up, take it off your hand. And this is my working yarn, the yarn attached to the skein or the ball. And I'm pulling this to tighten on my hook. And then our yarn over for our chain 1. For round 1, we place 6 single crochets, and our single crochets is the stitch that we're going to be working with. So I'm going to place my hook through the circle, and I'm going to tighten it again. I'm going to hold it up here, and I'm going to do a single crochet. To do that, I'm going to yarn over or place a yarn on top of the hook, pull through so that I have 2 loops, and then yarn over again and pull through my 2 loops. That's 1 single crochet. I then need to make 5 more. So I'm going to place in, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. That was our second, our third. Just like that. Our fourth. And you can count them by these V's. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. But it's not a circle. So you're going to pinch the top and then pull your tail. And again, to show it again, I have my tail, make my X, pinch, under, over, pull through, shimmy off. I'm going to tighten it by pulling the working yarn or the yarn attached to the skein, yarn over, which is placing our yarn on top of our hook, and then making our chain 1. For round 1, we're going to do 6 single crochets, and our single crochets are just our stitch that we're going to be using. So I'm going to place my hook underneath or through both loops and make a single crochet. So I'm going to yarn over, place my yarn on top of my hook, pull through. So I have 2 loops, yarn over again, and pull through both. And that was 1. So again, through, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both. That was my second stitch. This is my third, my fourth, fifth, and sixth. Looking at this, we can count by counting these little V's. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm then going to pull the tail so that it actually becomes a circle. Now, if you're having some trouble with the magic circle, let me show you another way. I'm going to make a slip knot. So I have my tail, holding my yarn, twist and pull through, just like a normal slip knot you would make for anything. I'm going to insert my hook and pull tight. You want it to be snug so it doesn't fall off, but not too tight that it can't move. We're then going to make 2 chains, which is our yarn over, 1, and then 2. Now we're going to place 6 single crochets into the first chain that we made. So I'm going to insert my hook into the chain, anywhere is just fine. 1 single crochet. The same thing we were doing for the magic circle. That was 1. And then in the same hole, we'll make 5 more. So I put my hook in, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. That was 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Oops. This isn't my favorite method because you get a little bit of a hole, but that's okay. You can also take your yarn needle and use your tail and kind of sew up the middle if that bothers you, but it kind of works out because it gets a little squished at the end. I'm going to take this out and do the magic ring, and then we'll do round 2. Before we hop into round 2, we're going to use our stitch markers, which are these safety pin looking things, and I'm going to place it in my last stitch. And this is so we can keep track because we're working in a spiral. We're not going to have a clear end and beginning to our rounds, so this is going to help mark it. For round 2, we're going to be doing 6 increases. And an increase is just 2 single crochets in the same stitch. So we're going to start by making sure we are not using our yarn tail to work with. This is my yarn attached to my ball or my skein. You want to use that. I'm kind of placing my tail to the side so I don't use it. You're going to insert your hook, moving in the same spiral direction, through that V, underneath the 2 arms of the V, and make 1 single crochet. Before we move on, we want to place a second single crochet right next to it. At the end of round 1, we had 6 single crochets. At the end of round 2, we'll have 12. So you're placing 2 in each one. Moving forward, we're going to go into the next one, putting my hook under both and making my 2 single crochets. And I'm going to continue this all the way around. When I get to my stitch marker, I like to take mine out and then work in that stitch. And then replace your stitch marker. You can count your stitches and you should have 12. So remember you're counting the V's. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Our next round, we're going to do 1 single crochet and then an increase. So on the next stitch, insert my hook. I'm going to do 1 single crochet. And that's it. We're done with that guy. We're going to move into the next one, and then we'll do our increase. 1, 2. So it's like a sequence of 3. 1 and then a double. And we'll repeat this around. So a 1, and then the next stitch, a double. And we'll do this all the way so we have 18 single crochets. For our next round, we're going to do 1, 1, and then a double. So 1 single crochet, in the next stitch another single crochet. So not a double, it's 2 individual ones, and then our double or our increase. 1, 1, double, repeat around. For our next round, you might be seeing a pattern. We're going to do 1, 2, 3, and then a double. So 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, a third, 1, 2, 3, and then an increase. And we'll do this all the way around. For the next round, you'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then an increase. For the next 6 rounds, we're not going to do any increases. We're just going to place 1 single crochet into every single stitch. And you're just going to go around and around for 6 rounds. Just 1, 1, all the single stitches. Well, now it's starting to look like a whale. But now we have to change to our white yarn. So I'm going to get mine out. So to change colors, we're basically going to be doing our normal single crochet, but for the second yarn over, instead of blue, we'll add our white. So in the next stitch, I'm going to insert my hook, yarn over, pull through, just so we have our 2 loops. But now I'm going to grab our white. Here's my tail. Give myself a couple inches so it doesn't fall. I'm hooking it onto my yarn and then pulling through with the white. I tighten the blue in the back, and then I can continue single crocheting with the white. Just make sure you're not using the tail. Just like normal. You're going to do 2 rounds of white single crochets. Now that we have part of our belly, we have to add our eyes. I like to pull my loop big, remove my hook. On the inside, we can trim our blue. Just leave yourself a few inches. We don't need the blue. And then with our 2 tails, I'm going to tie a square knot. Don't pull too tight, it will mess up your stitches. But I just like to keep it out of the way. I have my safety eyes, my backs. I'm going to hold him, or her, I don't know. And I like it a little bit above the color change. And no pun intended, but I'm kind of eyeballing it. Oh yeah, I like that. That's perfect. Before I put those on, the backs on, I'm going to take my pink so I can add the blush. I'm going to put it on my tapestry needle. Starting from the back, I'm going to poke through and leave a few inches in the back. And go over 1 or 2 stitches, however big you want it. I like to go over twice. Cute. And then repeat the same thing over here. Because it's such a far jump, just make sure you're not pulling too tight. You don't want it to bend and ruin your shape. There's 1. Are they even? Yep. And then a second. On the inside, I'm going to make my very loose slip knot just so it doesn't slide out. But again, we don't want it to ruin the shape. Perfect. And now I'm going to put the backs on. You just kind of push it on. Make sure you hear or feel a clicking sound or noise, feeling. Oh, that one I didn't hear it, but I felt it. You're our whale. We're going to start doing something called decreasing. So you know how for our increase it was 2 stitches in 1? Our decrease is combining 2 stitches together. So we're going to start with the decrease. We're going to insert our hook into the next stitch, yarn over, and pull up a loop, so you have 2. You're going to insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, so that you have 3 loops, and then yarn over and pull through all 3. Then you're going to single crochet 4, because we're going to do the opposite of what we did above, so I can get nice and small. 2, 3, 4. So then we'll repeat that. So our decrease, insert, yarn over, pull through, insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3, and then 4 single crochets. You're going to do that round, and then the next one, you're going to do a decrease and then 3 single crochets. The next round, 2 single crochets and then a decrease, or vice versa, decrease and then the stitches. It doesn't really matter which way. You can even alternate between rows if you want. You're going to do this all the way until 1 single crochet and then a decrease, because then we have to stuff. So we want to make sure we have plenty of room in the bottom to stuff. So I'm going to do a few rounds of decreases so we can get to the stuffing part. I just finished the rounds where I did 2 single crochets and then a decrease, so I have a decent sized hole. I'm going to take my stuffing, and there's a trick to stuffing. You don't want to just shove this in and shove it. You're going to pull it apart into small clumps and place it where you want it. Yes, a little bit more time consuming, but it will give you a rounder, fluffier, fuller look, and you don't have to use as much stuffing, which is nice. So I'm going around the edges because I want him to be the roundest whale I've ever seen in my whole entire life. I love how full and round he is. You can also continue stuffing all the way to the very end. I'm now going to do 1 single crochet and then the decreases, and then 6 decreases, and then I'll show you how to close the bottom. Here, yeah, this last few rounds as you're getting smaller, it is awkward. It's not you, it's just awkward trying to add the decreases. Make sure your decreases are still nice and tight. If they're loose, you're going to be able to see through them. So you're going to want to be pulling tighter than normal to do your decreases. Now we're at the end. I'm going to cut a nice long tail. Always make it longer than you need, and then fasten off. To do so, we're just going to pull our hook, and we're just going to pull the yarn all the way through. We're now got to close up the bottom. There's 100 different ways to do that. As long as it's closed, it doesn't really matter. Taking my tail and putting it on my needle. I like to weave in and out of all the stitches, like you're doing like a cinch bag or something. So in, and then out, and then you'll pull tight. So I'm going around. Okay, I'm gonna do one more. And then you pull. I'm making sure it's still round and everything. I like to place a knot, just like a simple, I don't even know what it's called, just a simple knot right at the edge, just so I know it won't come undone. And then we gotta hide this because we don't want to see this, but you don't want to cut it off because then it will come apart. So stick it through and then poke it through anywhere that's white. So I stuck it right next to the knot, and then anywhere that's white. Whoa. And then I'm going to take my scissors cut it. If it sticks through a little bit, you can poke it, kind of rub it. But now we have the base of the whale. A very, very round whale that definitely needs fins. So let's make them. So you know in the beginning we had our magic ring, or the chain 2. We had our magic ring and 6 single crochets. These are gonna be, we're gonna make 2 for the wings on the side, and then, or wings, fins, I don't know. I don't know whale terminology. And then we're gonna do 2 in the back next to each other for the tail. So again, I'm gonna make that pretty X in my hand. Under, over, scoop. Take it off and tighten. Chain 1. And then 6 single crochets on the inside. 2, 3. If I'm going too fast for you, please go back to the beginning of the video. I'm not trying to assume you're an expert here. It's just already in the video and I don't want to make this one too long. One more. I'm going to tighten it. Leave a tail for sewing. Ooh, I didn't cut it. And then fasten off. You're going to make 4 of these. Now that we have these, we got to sew it on. So I'm going to pull my needle over, put the tail on the needle. I'm going to zoom you out a little bit. And then we're going to place 2 on the side and then 2 next to each other on the back. So I'm going to start with the side. If it's easier for you, you can use straight pins to kind of pin it in place. I kind of like when they're a little wonky, I'll admit. So I'm going to hold it and do it. And you're going to stitch it. Again, there's about 500 different ways to sew pieces onto each other. I like to use a whip stitch. So I'm going to go through the body and then through the gill, fin, whatever we decide we're calling them, all on the sides. I'm going to move the tail down. And again, these are just like the wings. It doesn't have to be like insanely secured or anything, but you don't want it coming off. Hello, cute. So then we'll poke it anywhere that's blue. And then we'll do the same thing with this tail, which is from our magic circle. Anywhere that's blue. Then I'm going to sew the back ones. Make sure I'm nice and centered in the back. This is where our color change happens, so if that bothers you, you can hide it with your tail. For me, it doesn't matter. This is just a fun whale. Cool, and then anywhere that's blue. Do our second part of our tail, because it kind of got like the double thing going, you know? I'm gonna put it right next to it. And then go through it all. You might hear my cats playing in the background. Okay, right next to each other. You can even do a stitch to combine them, so it kind of looks like they're one piece. Oh yeah, look at that, cute. Hide the tail. So you're going to do the same thing with this arm over here, and then we'll have to add a little water spout. And we got to cut off all our tails. To do our final little water spout, I'm going to cut a piece of white yarn. Oh, this is like way big, but that's okay. We can trim it later. Find the center, which is our magic ring. I'm going to poke. Using my hook, I'm kind of going through the magic ring, latching on my white. And then I'm going to grab it, pull tight, trim it. And then I take your scissors, or this might even work better. And you're just gonna separate the strands. Just like that, kind of rubbing them. So now our whale has a water spout. Thank you so much for joining me today on making this adorable little whale. I hope you had a lovely time. If so, please like and subscribe to the channel. It helps me be able to make more crochet tutorials for you. Again, my name is Kendall, and I'll see you in the next video.